here's something that happens in the in the world that we're in, the martial movement meditative arts, is that if you say, I'm going to teach a workshop on relax, however I'd phrase it, I will have 4 people show up. If I promote a workshop in which I'm going to teach the Chinese secret to long life called Song, 100 people will show up. Because different credibility is given when something has a Chinese name, and certainly if you market it better and have a whole clickbait kind of title. One of the, maybe it's a consequence of that, I'm not sure, but it's certainly related. One of the things that happens, and this is what we just did in this exercise, is I teach an exercise that has no reference to China, no reference to a Chinese word, no reference to a Chinese practice like Qigong. I didn't say, this is based on a Chinese medicine theory. I just said, we're going to do this thing with our emotions and our faces. It's very hard for people to buy into that because that doesn't sound like it's a Qigong, right? Or whatever the particular practice is. But when we have, let's just call it a Qigong practice for lack of a more ready term here, when we have practices that we consider natural practices, and they arrive to us packaged in a name, and the name of the practice is part of a larger set of practices that's part of a larger art that has a name, that's a sister art to this other art that has a name that all came from Indonesia or India or whatever. That sounds perfect and credible and valuable and correct. But because they're natural practices, they're all based on naturalness. The naturalness came around before language or China, right? So we could have a practice that's about sighing or hiccuping or startling or being hungry or being distracted by the bird or staying focused on something that you can't see, like maybe a fisherman would do that. And all of these can be described in ways that sound like ordinary descriptions of human activity, like going for a walk or breathing deeply or something. But as soon as I don't say breathing deeply, I say, well, we're going to do Tai Chi breathing. Ooh. Let me get my notebook. Oh, this is called regulated breathing? Oh, what was that? Oh, that's just breathing. We're just paying attention. It's not that big a deal. So something to pay attention to is the exercise we did. I kind of studiously didn't say any Chinese term, give it a fancy name. It's not the turtle does a thing and slips under the water. It's not that practice. So you guys might give it less value, less credence, less interest than another practice. And the same thing might happen with your students. So I'm not saying everything must have a Chinese name or nothing needs a Chinese name. I just think it's important to see that benefit. Like I could have taught that whole exercise in terms of Chinese emotional transmogrification, but I didn't. And you might end up feeling like, oh, that was a little disappointing. He just told me something I know how to do. Yeah, everything we're doing is teaching natural expression and experience. But it often comes gift wrapped in a name that's Chinese. So it's exotic. And it must be more right than how humans live here or now. Does that kind of make sense? So it's just like a expanded lesson on what we did that might be helpful if you haven't thought of it that way before.